Why are car prices just so high, and why are they not going down? I mean, if you look at my video from yesterday where I talked about why manufacturers aren't building cheap cars, that answers part of the perspective from the OEM side. Why are they not building cheaper cars? But today, I really want to break it down because there is a single major reason, in fact, why these car prices are retaining these such high prices. Now, just entertain me here for a second. You know, it's not solely and exclusively because a lot of times people blame everybody else. Bobblehead 1 says it's their reason, Bobblehead 2 says it's their reason, and everybody's blaming everybody else. But at the end of the day, everybody's trying to grab their piece of the puzzle here, or try their piece of the pie. I mean, during the vid, we know in 2020, everybody says that during that time, that just stirred up the whole market and everything. And while there was a lot of very controversial maneuvers by every government and available in every company, corporate company, that in itself is no reason for this to have changed. Yes, there was a halt, there was a big stoppage, there was a huge challenge in the way we did our business, the way we did our work, and it sort of transformed how everything worked for us. You know, now we're buying more things online. It kind of veered everybody away from the idea of going and doing you know, storefront shopping. Brick and mortar started to go away and die. Of course, governments were printing money, so that didn't help with the inflationary cost, but we're seeing people on the streets way more than we ever did before. And a lot of it is mental health, a lot of it is finances, and there's a whole variety of reasons why that is. But, you know, everybody points at the OEMs as being greedy. Everybody points at, you know, during the vid of, you know, what was going on there and the stoppages and shortages of available product. And then everybody blamed the chips. And there was a million reasons, and everybody pointed to somebody else and said, they're the reason, that's the reason, that's the reason. You know what? It's bigger than that. And I want to, it's bigger than that, but it's very simple, realistically, to fix. It's very simple to fix. And I'll share you that solution at the end of this video. Because if we understand the solution, it's just really a matter of taking a simple action and moving forward, and we'll find that things will change, guaranteed. So I do have a comment here from a viewer that wrote out to me named J-Dog, who basically says, look, I feel bad for the workers. So talking about some of the workers, you know, the automotive workers, the UAW, and, you know, all the strikes and all of that that's going on, and how a lot of them are getting laid off, and that is a factor that's happening, but that's happening in corporate America everywhere. It's not unique to the automotive, you know, area, so to speak. But I'm going to break this down, J-Dog's comment here, and I think this kind of spells this out, and this is going to lead into the solution here in my mind. So the biggest reason why vehicles are still so highly priced. Here we go. So for the workers, this market needs a correction. A Toyota 4Runner shouldn't start at $41,000 and go up to $55K. That's a normal person SUV. I would agree with that. I mean, that's typical middle class, garden variety. Like I said, I've talked about this Lunchbox Joe. That's the kind of vehicle we should be able to afford, but now a lot of us can't. It's out of our reach. So he's saying that's a normal person SUV. 55 grand is not a normal person price for a car. Per the online affordability calculators, I could afford a $41,000 car on a 4-year loan, right there. And if I'm willing to go with $1,000 a month payment, that seems like an insane amount of money to spend on a car. I couldn't agree more. Absolutely, it's bananas. And we see this, how many people are going, you know, repossessed because they've taken on more than they can chew. So I can afford a $41,000 on a 4-year loan if I'm willing to pay $1,000. That seems like an insane amount. And I make a very strong salary, easily the top 5% of my very, very, very expensive state. So if you make $200,000 plus and are financially literate in most other ways, apparently you can comfortably buy a base model Toyota 4Runner. Yeah, something wrong in the market, and people need to stop wasting their 401k contributions on overpriced, shitty mid-market cars. 100%. And don't even get me started on the new fad of $100,000 mass market SUVs and trucks. Unless you're a contractor, laborer, and can expense the depreciation on a high trim F-150 type of truck, you're either very, very, very well off, or either just like to pretend to be a blue collar or legitimately need the utility for a truck improvement and have so much cash that 100 grand isn't a big deal. Or you're financial literate, totally irresponsible, and love to exist in debt slavery. And that's what it is. We're seeing this. People are spending $1,000 a month, is very common in the States. In Canada, to get into a $1,000 a month payment is child's play. That's every day. Almost every vehicle is going to cost you $800, $900, $1,000 a month. You know, the days of the old $200 a month car payments, those are long gone. That ship sailed many, many moons ago. So what we're getting now are people in Canada willing to spend $1,000, $1,200, $1,500. I know people spending $2,000 a month for a relatively moderate level of luxury vehicle. And even a F-150 or a Ram, people are paying $1,800 a month. So it's beyond me why people get themselves in that predicament. But this is what's going on, right? How did we get here? How are these prices so damn high? Well, let's continue on here and see what else J-Dog has to say. So this market needs a crash so we can get back to normalcy. Normal cars, Ford, GM, Volkswagen, Toyota, for normal wage earners. BMW, Lexus, Mercedes, Audi, Cadillac, Lincoln for higher normal workers. So people that are, you know, maybe well-heeled, but maybe the manager in your job, and maybe the supervisor drives the mid-level, higher trim level, and maybe the direct contributor people are driving, you know, the Hondas and Toyotas. I don't know. I mean, everybody's got a title. I hate to label anybody because I think that's such nonsense, and I hate being profiled, so that's the last thing I want to do. But there is sort of an alignment that you typically find. And Porsche, Ferrari, Lambo for the legitimately top 1% of earners. Now, so basically exactly what had been happening in the auto market for the last 50 years up until COVID caused everything to go insane. Yep, that's kind of when it seemed to trigger. But was it that specifically? Was it the vid that caused that? Let's go to continue on. Related to the video, I'm surprised Honda sales tanked. Of all the brands, Honda and I guess Kia Hyundai, who still view as a lower tier option, at least due to their shit dealer experience, is the only one that I look at the prices and think, oh, that's not so bad. If you just need a normal, not too small car to get to work and drive your kids around, you can get an Accord for a reasonable $28,000. You can get an Accord for a very reasonable $28,000, and if you want all the features that a modern car should probably have, you can get the top trim for, say, $39,000, which is less than a base model 4Runner. So, quite clearly, thanks J-Dog for that. And really what that boils down to is, I mean, look at me. I'm sitting here in my 2003 Ram 1500. 2003. Listen to it. It's quiet. It runs nice. Even if something blew up an engine, I could drop an engine in for 7 grand, transmission another 4 grand. This thing's got a new lease on life for another $10,000, $12,000, and I can drive this for another 300,000 kilometers. See, this is what's going on and where the market is gotten so bad and why these prices are out of control. Was it the vid? Partially. Chip shortage, supply and demand happened for a while, but that leveled out. I mean, that lasted for about 6 months to a year. Chips started landing, you know, manufacturers realized that, okay, we can start fulfilling these orders and these allocations. So that was no longer an issue. That lasted for less than a year. Okay, so what else happened? Okay, so there was inventory ups and downs and new and shortages. We saw changes in the interest rates, which fluctuated and caused all kinds of different ups and downs in the market as well. But buyers kept buying. You see, this is where the problem is. And we've been telling this all along. And where the supply and demand kept going, these manufacturers thought, well, we can keep building these cars at a higher profit margin cars and not sell the low-end junk. And this is what's happening now. And it's the buyers, it's the very buyers that have accepted this phenomenon. And so if more people took the stance of, like J-Dog, really live within your means. Now, here, think about this. You buy a $40,000 car, okay, 40 grand. Do you realize that the average vehicle in 5 years will depreciate about 60%? So, on that premise, you lose about 10 grand as soon as you sail off the lot. But within that first 5 years, you can pretty much anticipate losing $24,000 at 60% in 5 years. Are you okay in losing $24,000, $25,000 every year? Remember, that's after-tax earnings. So also think about this. Typical wage earners now are in that 30, 40, 50% tax brackets. Okay, so if you're giving away $5,000 away on depreciation of that vehicle every year, that's closer to $9,000 to $10,000 just on depreciation, not on the value of the vehicle. I mean, the vehicle itself is another conversation, and you can debate whether, you know, spending 100 grand or 50 grand is value add, but the depreciation alone is forcing you to lose probably $9,000 to $10,000 every single year of your gross earnings. And if you're making, say, $60,000, $70,000, $80,000, which is your average median income in the US, you've now consumed probably 20%, yeah, 15, 20% of your income on that vehicle, on just the depreciation. And we're not talking about the cost of the ownership and the residual and what that vehicle is actually worth. Okay, so this is part of the issue right now. People look at this and they think, I can afford that. This is doable. But see, that's the problem. It fits within the slots and the confines of what the bank says is allowables. But there's so many other challenges that have hit us since the vid. And a lot of people seem to forget that. They go on some of the premise of the old banking information and the qualifications. And the banks are still qualifying people that shouldn't be qualifying. We're seeing subprime borrowers losing, like getting their vehicles repossessed to the tune of, we're almost at 7%. Subprime borrowers are at 3 to 4%. Those numbers are rising. So it's pretty clear that people are getting it over their heads. People are borrowing on their car loans now as long as 7 years or 84 months. What is that telling you? That's telling you that people are overextending themselves. What's wrong with buying that cheap little car? What's wrong with buying a little car like that? You know, we look at an older, we have a Toyota Corolla right there. Even if you buy that car used on the used market right now, you can get that car for, in the Canadian dollars, that's about $12,000, $13,000, as opposed to buying a new one that's $35,000. And that car is still going to get you another 5 to 10 years of life out of it. My Ram, I see no reason to replace it anytime soon. And is there any reason why people go out there and spend that $110,000 on that F-150 Lariat? Or that Ram pickup truck? Or that full-size Denali HD pickup truck diesel? No. Even for contractors, most of those vehicles, you don't need all the bling and the sunroof and the leather. They do it because they want it. So now it's more about the shiny new toys than it is about the need. So it's the want versus the need, you see? And we all want nice things at some time. But you also got to remember, you're never going to be out of slavery if you continue to buy like this. And the worst part is, it's the actual banks that have enabled these longer loan terms, these absolutely, what I'd say is barely borderline qualifying buyers. And as long as the banks and the lending institutions are willing to hand the money out, the manufacturers know that they can continue hiking up these prices year over year. They know that as long as they've got enough buyers coming in the door to buy that new $100,000 truck, they're going to continue to do that. They're going to continue slowly hiking up these prices at a rate that's more than inflation. So how did we get here? It was the buyers all along, everybody. The greedy dealerships, the greedy manufacturers, they do what they do best, and that's be greedy. We know that. CEOs making $40 million a year, that's grease. The factory workers making $130,000 a year, you tell me if that's worth it. All of these parasitic costs that get buried into these corporations start to create all this fat bottom end that has to be overcome. So now these, you know, for the ultimate pursuit of profits and making more and more money, these manufacturers keep cranking up prices, taking bigger pay raises for the workers, pay raises for these CEOs, pay raises for all of the top players at the table, meaning you and I are a bunch of suckers. I'm done being a goddamn sucker, and I'll be honest, I'm not buying a new truck or car anytime soon. At least not from the big three. They seem to be the biggest culprits. J-Dog right there was pretty clear. And I would agree with that. The Japanese cars are getting crept up too. We bought a 2018 Camry. No, sorry, let me scale this back. 2022 Camry. It was an upgrade. It was an SE upgrade. All in with taxes, Canadian dollars, 22. This was 2 years ago. And it wasn't an amazing deal, but all in with GST, PST taxes and everything. We had paid for that car $37,000 Canadian. That was in, that was taxes all in. The floor mats and the extras, everything walked out the door at $37,000 with taxes. Now today, 25, so they've gone slightly hybrid. Now you're dealing with a vehicle, the SE all-wheel drive. Of course, it's hybridized slightly. We know like now $42,500 base price plus taxes plus. Now you're at $45,000. That's in 2 years. Even Toyota is greasing it in the back door. How does that? I mean, maybe that's not really the right. Anyway, you know, all of these manufacturers are finding different ways, you know, deliver on demand. Toyota keeping inventory low to drive up this agitation, this feeling, that urgency that you needed to get out there and buy, and it forced consumers, or created this feeling that there was no negotiation power. That was happening. And so even if they weren't selling way above sticker, they certainly weren't selling anywhere near below sticker. Honda, not bad. As mentioned, you know, J-Dog already mentioned that there's some deals to be had in the Honda front. There were some good deals in some scatterings of different manufacturers. But many of the popular brands, you are grossly overpaying. You know, and instead of, you know, see, unfortunately, look at OEMs like Stellantis. They're destroying themselves. We're going to talk about that here very, very soon. That's a very hot topic again. Every day, I hate to keep talking about Stellantis, Ram, Jeep, Dodge. But they're such an easy target because they're so stupid. Sorry, but it just is what it is. And they're greedy, and they're the worst. And the reason I say that is they went too far, and now they have vehicles that they can't sell. Inventory's at an alarming rate, growing, and CEOs on the verge of getting punted, layoffs everywhere, plant closures, inventory that's growing that's just not selling. I mean, you know the routine, but we're going to get into that in another video. This is just horrible what's going on. But instead of, you know, being able to buy that base trim, remember, they just got rid of the classic Ram. That was the only truck that represented even close to a good value, and even that wasn't great value. But at $65,000 Canadian, that was probably the best thing you could get in a full-size half-ton. They canceled it. They shut down the factory. No more classics. But instead, they're going to replace that with the base bottom trim being $75,000 in a V6 or a 6-cylinder in the 25 Rams. So they're all doing it in their own little greasy way. But the bottom line is all the CEOs are padding their wallets. The workers are getting richer, but the buyers like you and I are getting poorer. There's only one way to fix this. You don't buy that junk. Or you buy the stuff that looks to be good value. You buy the vehicles that have value blended in. It's a quality vehicle, you know it's reputable, it's going to last a long time, and your intent is to keep it for a long time. You see, getting in the flipping game of 2 or 3 years, you lose right away. Depreciation, your never-ending cycle of losing money. So your only way out of this game unscathed is if you want to buy a new vehicle, make sure it's quality brand. I mean, I never thought I'd say this, but a Lexus is cheaper than a Jeep. That's a joke. So buy a brand like a Lexus over that other crap that they're trying to pitch over at Stellantis land. And then hold on to it for 10 or 15 years. And even at the end of that 15 years, you'll still get 25, 30% of the value out of it. So you're way leagues ahead. But the last thing you want to do is flip these vehicles, you know, every couple of years. So that's the last thing you want to do. If you don't need a new vehicle, buy something like that little Corolla right there, where you can get into something, you know, maybe that's 5, 10 years old, that's got a lot of life left in it, and then just drive by that. And it may be worth a little extra money, but as opposed to buying brand new, or do go the furthest extreme like I do, and just continue fixing, you know, these old, worn out, sure, I don't have the big infotainment screens, sure, I don't have all of the big stereo system, and I don't have leather interior there. I have a very basic set of controls, but it is power controls. I have power seats. Just keep maintaining and fixing your old stuff as long as you can. Because if you get another 5 or 10 years out of this, that's just one less vehicle that you've injected into that screwball market that we're in right now. So, if I could just say, that's the best solution. Stay out of this stinky market. Don't feed the beast. And as above all, don't reward bad behavior. These dealers, these OEMs that are charging us way, way too much, that's bad behavior. And there's only one way that's going to end up for the dealers and these manufacturers, and it's not looking good for them. And I'll be honest, bailouts are not the way. I think consumers are done with that. We're overpaying on the front end, the back end, in between, and every which way from Sunday. So it's time that needs to stop. Politicians need to look at this and say, you know what, you're on your own. You run a small business, no one's giving you bailouts. It goes under because you didn't know how to manage your business properly. There's no bailouts. Anyway, I hope that helps everybody. Please just say, I didn't mean to tell you so, but I told you so. The buyers are the main problem here. They enabled these dealers. They bought high. They continued to trade in with negative equity. They continued to pay what the dealers were asking and then some. They continued to pay market adjustment fees. They continued to get gouged. They continued to see a truck like this that has 176,000 kilometers on it and pretend that it's worn out and justify that by going to buy a new truck for $120,000. The buyers caused this, nobody else. The dealers are greasy, they're just taking advantage of an easy prey. Well, I hope that answers everything there for you. Then the long and short of it, that's why car prices are so high, and that's also how we can fix it. Hope to see each and every one of you on the next one. See you real soon, everybody. Bye-bye.